Some love stories are too strong to fade. Years pass, lives change, but some hearts never forget. What if they got a second chance? The city glows as the sun sinks below the horizon, painting the skyline in golds and purples. The streets hum quietly, a rhythm of footsteps and distant traffic blending into the evening. In the midst of this urban elegance, there's a sense of stories long told and lives intertwined, waiting for one more chapter. A solitary figure moves down a cobblestone street, the soft click of her heels echoing with an air of familiarity, as if the city itself remembers every step she has taken. The wind lifts the hem of a red dress, catching the fading sunlight, hinting at grace, resilience, and memories carried in every fold. She pauses for a moment, glancing at the shop windows that once held secrets, smiles, and quiet exchanges, her reflection merging with the world outside. Each display jewelry, dresses, scarves whispers echoes of a past that was once vibrant and intoxicating, now softened with time. Across town, another figure stands in a high-rise office, gazing up through glass that frames the sprawling city below. He is still, contemplative, the lines of experience etched lightly across his posture, the weight of choices long made settling quietly around him. Papers are stacked neatly on the desk behind him, a photograph tacked into the corner, slightly askew, revealing a face that lingers in memory more than reality. A half-empty coffee cup sits nearby, forgotten, as if the heart can't taste anything without thought of her. The city stretches endlessly, yet somehow feels smaller when the mind is tethered to one person, one story, one love that refuses to let go. The light fades further, city lights blink alive, and the hum of life continues as if it knows a reunion is near, but doesn't hurry. The night wraps around the streets like a velvet curtain, the glow of lamps reflecting softly on wet pavements from an earlier rain. The red dress moves past cafes and boutique windows, the scent of coffee and pastries mingling with the cool night air, awakening dormant memories. Hands brush against railings, doors, and lampposts as the figure walks, each touch a quiet echo of experiences once shared. Somewhere, laughter drifts from an open door, catching the wind briefly, and she smiles, a ghost of emotion flickering across her mind. Every corner of the city holds a story, every shadow carries a whisper, and each step seems to draw her closer to the inevitable convergence of paths that time and distance could not sever. Meanwhile, he leaves his office, the quiet click of his shoes a counterpoint to the fading music of the city. The photograph is tucked away, yet it remains alive in memory, a tether between past and present. The streets he walks are familiar, yet strangely different. The lights brighter, the air heavier with anticipation. Windows show reflections of passers-by, but none capture the same attention as the fleeting shadow of someone he once knew intimately. The world has moved on around him, yet inside, a clock seems to tick differently, counting down to a moment he cannot fully name but feels with every step. The city is alive with potential, with unspoken tension, with quiet anticipation. In restaurants, in cafes, in grand hotels, echoes of laughter and moments linger like traces of perfume, subtle, ungraspable, but deeply affecting to lives shaped by chance, ambition, mistakes, and love. Move through the same city yet separately, the invisible thread between them taut and waiting. And as the night deepens, the city seems to hold its breath, shimmering lights reflecting on glass and puddles alike, hinting at the return of a story once thought finished. Somewhere in the distance, a door opens, a curtain sways, and two worlds inch silently closer, propelled by memory, longing, and the quiet pull of destiny. Every detail of this city, every shadow and glimmer, every fleeting moment of nostalgia, is a reminder that some chapters are never truly closed. The streets, the lights, the echoes of laughter and whispered words, they all point toward a second chance, a rekindled story, a love that refuses to be forgotten. Time has passed, hearts have evolved, and yet the city, in its endless elegance, waits patiently for the convergence that will finally awaken the love that has always lingered in the spaces between the The morning light spills gently across The city brushing the rooftops with warmth that seems to promise new beginnings, yet carries the weight of unspoken memories. On the corner of a quiet street, a familiar silhouette appears elegant, poised, yet cautious, moving with a grace that draws attention without demanding it. Her reflection shimmers in the polished glass of boutique windows, catching glimpses of the woman she once was and the woman she has become. Every accessory she carries, every step she takes, speaks silently of confidence, sophistication, and a life shaped by choices that were both daring and deliberate. The streets are alive with movement, passers-by, car horns, soft chatter, but she navigates it with a rhythm that belongs only to her, as if she carries her own world in the curve of her smile, the sway of her shoulders, the gentle lift of her chin. Meanwhile, across town in a building that hums with the quiet efficiency of work and ambition, a figure stands behind a floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the city like a man surveying a kingdom he has built and maintained, yet somehow feels distant from. His hands rest lightly on the ledge, fingertips grazing the smooth surface as if seeking contact with something intangible, something just beyond reach. The room around him is pristine, deliberate. Yet small tokens of memory peek from the edges. A framed photograph, a briefcase with initials embossed in gold, a small notebook filled with thoughts that speak louder than words ever could. There is a stillness about him that is almost painful, as though every movement requires deliberation, every breath measured against a past that has refused to fade. Their lives, though separate, pulse with a rhythm that hints at convergence. A shared cafe, unnoticed at first, becomes a stage where glimpses of their presence intersect. The morning sun filters through sheer curtains, casting delicate patterns on tables lined with coffee cups and pastries. The red dress she wore last evening is now replaced by something more subdued, yet unmistakably elegant, a hint of her enduring style that draws subtle glances without drawing attention. He enters the space quietly, scanning the room with an air of familiarity that cannot be explained, eyes landing briefly on a table where her shadow lingers longer than it should. Neither knows the other is near. Yet the air between them vibrates with the memory of shared laughter, whispered words, and promises made long ago. The city around them moves on as if oblivious to the invisible tension threading their paths. Street musicians play melodies that drift like forgotten echoes, pigeons take flight from ornate rooftops, and the wind carries scents of fresh flowers and warm bread from nearby markets. Every detail of the city seems charged with memory windows, reflecting shapes that almost resemble them, fountains catching sunlight in fleeting, sparkling arcs, lampposts casting shadows that mimic gestures from a past that still lingers. Even the smallest movements, her adjusting her scarf, him straightening his jacket, carry the weight of recognition and unspoken connection, though neither fully acknowledges it. Subtle tension begins to weave through their days, a missed glance, a shadow passing in a hallway, a chair vacated to soon, moments that feel like coincidence but hint at inevitability. Their routines, once separate and predictable, now brush against each other in delicate, almost imperceptible ways. The city becomes a silent accomplice, a canvas where fate sketches lines too fine for the eye to catch, but too significant to ignore. There is a longing in the air, gentle but persistent, a quiet pull toward reunion that neither can yet name. Every street corner, every reflective surface, every passing stranger seems to whisper that the world is poised on the edge of a rediscovery, that a second chance waits just beyond the horizon of familiarity. Even in solitude, they are drawn to each other. He pauses in his office, staring at a distant street where she might appear, the memory of her smile lingering like perfume that refuses to fade. She lingers at a cafe table, tracing the rim of her cup, imagining a presence that feels both distant and near. Time has stretched between them, yet every heartbeat echoes in synchrony, every memory of shared moments sharpening in clarity. The city hums around them, alive with possibility, as the tension rises imperceptibly, threading their lives toward an encounter that promises hope, excitement, and a spark of the romance that once defined them. In these quiet, faceless moments, The story begins to awaken again, subtle yet unstoppable, ready to pull two hearts back together in a city that remembers everything. Even as the city wakes with golden light filtering through towering glass buildings and narrow streets and invisible, tension lingers between two lives that once moved in harmony. The woman walks briskly along the avenue, briefcase in hand, shoulders squared but heart heavy with the weight of unspoken questions. She pauses at the corner, hesitating as though the memory of another presence might appear in the crowd. The city feels simultaneously familiar and unfamiliar, every window reflecting shadows that seem to mimic her own thoughts. Every passing stranger a reminder of what was once hers and yet is no longer. The breeze lifts her hair slightly, teasing her with reminders of days filled with laughter, intimate conversations, and promises that life had postponed. Her steps quicken, yet the rhythm is uncertain.